Tellybridging. Tellybridging is by far one of the fastest bridging methods in all of Minecraft, but by far the hardest. But with the right steps and an obscene amount of practice, it becomes quite a little bit easier, and that's exactly what I'm here to teach you how to do in today's video. If you find the video useful, make sure to subscribe, but with that being said, let's get straight into it. In order to telybridge successfully, you're going to need to master 3 different actions. These are drag clicking, moving your mouse in a circular motion, and the keystrokes. I'm going to be breaking each of these down individually so that you can understand every single part of what you're going to have to do in order to telybridge. First up is drag clicking. The reason we use drag clicking as opposed to something like butterfly or jitter is for the sole reason that we can get an insane amount of CPS in a very short amount of time. Not only to telybridge will you have to know how to drag click, but you'll have to know how to hold your mouse as you drag click as well. For those of you that drag click by gliding your finger on the top of your mouse, you're going to have to learn how to hold your mouse from the sides. I don't think I need to go into too much detail about drag clicking. As long as you're getting about 20 to 30 CPS for each drag click, you're going to be fine. The next important thing you have to learn is the motion of your mouse. Of course, the direction that your mouse moves depends on whether you're going to be telybridging clockwise or counterclockwise. I personally like to go counterclockwise, but if you're the opposite, then just mirror what I'm doing. When you first begin the bridge, you're going to start facing forward, and as you jump off, you're going to turn about 180 degrees on your screen. As you do your 180, you're going to start slowly pulling your mouse down so that you can place your first couple of blocks on the very edge of your island. And from there, you're going to be pulling your mouse in essentially a straight line down, all the way until you've placed the first 3 blocks under your feet. At this point, while still pulling down on your mouse, you're going to start slowly flicking it your opposite direction, which for me is clockwise. You're going to want to flick your mouse so that you can move almost 180 degrees on your screen. And once you hit this point, you're facing forward again, and all you have to do is repeat. The next crucial thing we have to look at is keystrokes. So as you'll see here in this telly on the top left of my screen, I start off by holding W and spacebar. This lets me get a huge jump off the edge of my island, and then from there I use a combination of A, S, and D to make sure that my character goes backwards in a straight line so that I don't fall off. The other thing you'll notice is that I release my spacebar key right as I finish my tellies, and right as I jump off of them, I release my spacebar to reset my jumps. This doesn't change anything about the actual telybridge method, but it does give you a slightly faster time. Holding space also works, but is a little bit slower, and it's a bad habit to get into. Now that we've gone over the 3 main mechanics of telybridging, we have to talk about practice. Practicing telybridging is a very grueling process, but some of the best places I found were great for practicing were MCPlayHD, Grieve.eu, Bridger.land, and SpacePotato.de. All of these are great places to practice your bridging. In particular, MCPlayHD, Bridgerland, and Grieve.eu are all great for practicing over a medium to long distance. However, on Space Potato, you can move the island that you're bridging to, which means that you can bring it really close so that you only have to do 1 or 2 tellies to get to the other side, and this was great because it gave me a little bit of a confidence boost that I was finally able to telybridge over a decent distance. The thing about practicing is that it can get very repetitive, and honestly, you're probably not going to get your first telybridge until you get somewhere between 30 to 60,000 attempts. In order to make the practicing not the most boring thing you've ever done in your entire life, there's some good things you can do, such as listening to music, watching YouTube, TV shows, etc. All of these are great because they give you a little bit of a distraction so that you're not entirely bored out of your mind when trying to bridge over and over again and failing repeatedly. The biggest piece of advice I can give to people when practicing is that you want to be constantly critiquing yourself. There's a couple common mistakes you can make, such as not tapping W when you turn, holding spacebar, or turning around too early. These bad habits will slow down your times a lot, and they also just look a lot worse to watch. So make sure that when you are practicing your bridging, you're looking out for every single mistake you're making and trying to figure out the best way to go about solving it. Holding space was something I did when I was first learning how to telybridge, and honestly, it's really not that bad of a habit. All it does is slow down your times, even though you're still doing the same bridge. My motivation to fix the bad habit was mostly that I knew I was getting slower times than I could be getting if I was only not holding space. After that simple fix, my time started dropping a lot, and I was very happy for the change I'd made. But all in all, my main point here is that you want to be constantly critiquing yourself, because otherwise you're not going to improve as much as you would normally. I've told you the mistakes to watch out for, but how exactly do you go about solving them? To fix not tapping W, what you really have to focus on is making sure there's always blocks under your feet when you finish your telly. That way you can safely turn and tap W, and then try jumping again. To fix the issue of holding space, the second you go into the air after finishing a telly, you jump once again. The second your character releases off of that block and you've started your jump, you want to release space quickly and then hold it down again. And lastly, in order to fix turning too early, what you want to make sure you're doing is not turning until you actually get to the edge of the block. If you notice yourself turning around before you get to the edge, you're going to see your tellies look really bad. If you turn right as you get to the end of the block, you're going to see yourself doing a perfect 5-block telly, which should look something like this. In order to understand what a lot of other tellybridgers are saying when they talk about their strategies, you're going to need to understand the terminology. A 5 block or a 5 block telly is when you go 5 blocks out in distance from your island. A 6 block is when you go at 6 blocks. A +1 is when you go up 1 extra block in height, so instead of moving up 1 block after you finish your telly, you're going up 2. A high pixel telly is when you start off your bridge with a couple extra blocks at the beginning, and then continue on. A speed telly is when you go up 1 block and out 2 to 3 blocks, and then turn and reset. A late telly is when you start off your Tellybridge later, and this is what a 5 block late looks like, and this is what a 6 block late looks like. A single clutch is when you place 1 block on the top so that you can run and finish your bridge. A double clutch is when you place 2 blocks out of the island, usually 1 block lower, so that you can sprint jump up to the top and finish your bridge. And a triple clutch is the same thing, except just 3 blocks. The reason I bring up all this terminology for telybridging is because there's a lot of people that you'll be talking to when you're learning how to telly that will be giving you different strategies and tips and tricks, and sometimes you might not necessarily understand exactly what they're saying. Personally, my best recommendation is that you learn how to do 5 block tellys over and over again without holding your spacebar, and that you also learn a little bit about how to clutch at the end, whether that's a single clutch, double clutch, or even a triple clutch. And once you've mastered 5 block tellys, you can start learning things like 6 block tellys and speed tellys. Speed tellys are on a whole nother level. Even though they use the same concepts, they're a lot harder to pull off, and it takes a lot more practice. Very few bridgers actually have speed telybridging down at all, and even less have it down consistently. With that being said, that is pretty much everything you're going to be needing to know in order to telybridge. If this video did end up helping you in any way, please consider subscribing. It really does help out a ton. But with that being said, that is going to do it for today, so I really do hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.